Hello, and welcome to Philip Brown's Computer Networking Lab. You're watching the instructional video called DNS Installation. Here we are looking at the terminal window of DNS1. Notice that I changed the My Computer icon so that it says DNS1. Also notice the background is black. Let's take a look at the computer name and the DNS suffix. First, we'll go to the control panel and then to the system icon. And as you can see, the computer name is DNS1 and it is part of a work group. Let's go so we can change the DNS suffix. Still, we can see it's DNS1. I'll click on the change button and then the more button. And we can see that the DNS suffix has not been changed since Windows Server 2012 has been installed. I'm going to use philipbrown.local rather than philipbrown.us because I don't want to confuse my internal name with my external name. philipbrown.local is not routable on the internet, and this can prevent hackers from using a number of their tricks. Now let me restart the computer. I'm going to pause the video while it's rebooting. Now the server has finished rebooting. Let's install the DNS service on this server. I'll open up the server manager. And then click on the Manage button. As you can see, we can add new roles to this server. Here we are at the beginning page, and I'll click on the Next button. Here it's giving us a choice to install it either on this specific server or as part of a virtual desktop infrastructure. We will choose to install it specifically on this server. There are no other servers listed, so the choice should be easy. Finally, we have a list of roles that we can choose from. I'll click on the DNS server. In order for me to use the DNS server, there are a number of features that have to come with it by default. I'll add these features. Then when I click on the Next button, I can see some more features that I can add at this time if I wanted to. Finally, it gives me a summary of what it will be installing. Now let me click on the Install button. This install is going to take a short while. I will pause the video during this time. Okay, the installation is over. We have installed DNS on this server. The next thing we want to do is open up the DNS console. I can either go to the control panel or the administrative tools to do this. Here we can see that the DNS component is part of the administrative tools after the installation process has finished. We've opened up the DNS manager, and I'm going to expand the listings. We can see several choices here: the forward lookup zone, the reverse lookup zone, the trust points, and the conditional forwarders. In this video, we'll only be looking at the forward lookup zone and the reverse lookup zone. Let me start off with the forward lookup zone. I'll create a new zone for philipbrown.local. We can see that the new zone wizard has opened up. Let's continue on by clicking the next button. We can see that we're presented with three different choices. We can either create a primary zone, a secondary zone, or a stub zone. The primary zone allows this server to create read-write entries into its database. The secondary zone only has read entries. It cannot write. And for this reason, it only uses information that it reads from a primary zone. We'll go into the stub zone at a future time. Now let's tell the server the name that we plan to use for this DNS domain. It's going to be philipbrown.local. And then we'll click on next. On this page, we can either create a new database or we can use an existing database that has already been created. Since this is the first time this zone is being created, we will choose the first option. On this page, we have several choices of how we want to handle dynamic updates. We can either choose not to allow dynamic updates, or we can allow both secure and non-secure updates, or we can make it part of an Active Directory integrated zone. Since we do not have Active Directory up and running right now, that third choice is grayed out. If we were to take the first choice, then computers and other devices would not be able to modify the database with new information. All the information would have to be manually inputted into the database. And the second choice, which is secure and non-secure updates, means that any device can update the records, including modifying an already existing record. This is a potential threat because hackers can pretend to be a certain computer. Now we have set up the forward lookup zone. Take a look, it already has a few records in it. This one right here is DNS1, which is the name of this server. And it shows that it has an IP address of 10.0.0.11. Now let's configure the reverse lookup zone. It also brings us to an introduction page, and I'll click on the next button. And here also we're given a choice between making it a primary zone, a secondary zone, or a stub zone. I'm going to make it a primary zone and click next. And we're going to set it up using IPv4. and click Next. And now we have to pick the range that this reverse lookup zone will be monitoring. The zone that we wanted to watch is 10.0.0. And then we'll click Next. Here we have a choice to either create the zone file or to use the already existing one. And again, we're asked about dynamic updates. Because we don't want to manually put in the information, we'll choose secure and non-secure updates and then press enter. Now we've created both the forward lookup zone and the reverse lookup zone. Let me open up the DNS record for DNS1. I want to create a pointer record for it also. So I'll put a check mark in this box and then click on the OK. And now let's go look at the reverse lookup zone. Okay, it appears that the record didn't appear, so let me refresh the screen. There it is. It says 10.0.0.11 points to DNS1.philipbrown.local. It is very useful to remember that sometimes you have to refresh these screens in order to see the correct information. In this video, we took a look at a very basic DNS setup. In the next video, we will explain a little bit more about the DNS records and the properties of the DNS zones. I hope this video has been informative, and I thank you for viewing.